Hello guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Juked by Daylight, your favourite Dead by Daylight podcast. It's just Mike today. Mitchell is off sick, so I'm going to be running the show for you. Now, today's episode, we've got all the usual stuff that you will normally get from our podcast, which includes any Q&As that we've received recently or on the last video. Our character spotlight today is going to be on the Trap Man, the Trap Daddy, Evan McMillan, the Trapper. We've got a special guide for you today, which hopefully will make you smile, from Steam's DVD page. And we'll be covering, obviously, the Shrine of Secrets. Now, first of all, is there any news or drama? Well, no, not really. Unfortunately, it's been a bit of a quiet one. Obviously, there's been a lot of hoopla around the new killer, the Knight. People going back and forth whether they think he's too powerful or too weak. The jury is still out on that one, but a lot of the big creators like Otzdava, for instance, and True Talent don't seem to think that he's that good, and they want to tweak the crap out of him. So there we go. I mean, my own personal opinion, I've only played a couple of games with him, and I 4K'd both of them with relative ease. So I don't know. I probably need to put more time and energy into him. I think as survivors grow and they learn how to play around him, which they're very quickly doing, that we're going to see that he's probably not as OP as we first thought. But time will tell. Now, we do have a tiny little bit of news for you, and this is kind of exciting. It's a bit of a meme, but this winter event, the snowmans will be returning, which everybody loved when we were playing as Survivor, jumping into snowmen, and we had some very funny content from that. I even did myself. I managed to escape as a snowman many times, and I also managed to hide in a snowman in endgame and work my way very slowly to hatch, which I think I've got a video of somewhere. But yeah, so snowmen are returning, which is fucking awesome. But the news flash for you guys that do not already know, you can use them now as killer. Yes, that's right. You can use the snowmen that are returning not only as survivor, but now as killer, which I think is pretty fucking awesome. So there's going to be that, and obviously there's a ton of new weapons and sweaters dropping. Haddy's getting a sweater, Vittorio's getting a sweater, probably because he's topless most of the time. Deathslinger and Huntress apparently getting a new weapon, and there's a full outfit coming for Dredge and David King. I think Dredge is also getting another body on top of that. The Knight is getting a new head. I mean, why you would want to change from the amazing neon skin that he's got, I don't know. And I think 3 new exclusive charms for the winter period. So that's really all we have in terms of the news and drama segment. Now, we did have a question on the last video from our good friend Eve, or Lost in Dead by Daylight, as some of you may know her. Now, she asked an interesting question, kind of twofold, so I'm going to read out the question. She said, interesting to see you're going to put my original question into practice, which was regarding the perks. We're going to get onto that in a second, the perk challenge for Killer and Survivor, which was my brain dead idea, but we're doing it. We're doing 30 days with one perk that we've chosen specifically for Killer and for Survivor, but we'll come into that in a second. And she says she's quite curious about the results. I think we all are. And obviously we've got the new Shrine of Secrets, which, you know, she's asked about, which we'll get into as well. There's another segment of the show, so that's fine. And basically, she said, another question. Imagine you guys were working as creative developments at Behavior, and you could make a design for a completely new map. What would it look like, and what would the theme be? Be creative, think big. Okay, so we don't have Mitchell's input on this one this week. Maybe he can fill us in when he should be back next week. But my initial thought is we need another indoor map. Since they got rid of Hawkins, we've only now got, I think, 3 indoor maps, if you don't count RPD twice, because there's 2 versions. Got RPD, Larry's, and Midwich, right? So they're the indoor maps. Okay, great. We need a new one. So that leads me down a garden path of thought as to what that could potentially be. Then, my brain then jumps to the next obvious thought process, which would be, what horror films are based indoor? I forgot the game, by the way. The game is another indoor map, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got 4 indoor maps. Okay, that's fine. We need another one. Fuck it. We've got too many open maps. We need more indoor, as far as I'm concerned. Mainly for Scratch and Mirror Myers, but, you know, that's another subject altogether. So I'm thinking indoor map, guys. That's what I'm thinking. And I would lean towards the horror film 13 Ghosts. Now, the reason for that, as any of you that have seen the film would know, that 13 Ghosts is set inside a haunted house that houses, well, has prison 13 individual ghosts. Now, I think that would be an awesome map for DBD to do, because you could have the ghosts doing like minimal jump scares in the map as you go around. A bit like the ones you currently have on Midwich and RPD. There's like 2 very minor jump scares in that map. Unless you're aware of them, then they're not jump scares at all. And I think that the mansion from that would be very, very interesting. You could have a basement, because it does actually have a basement, and you could deck that out completely unique to that map. You could have different things, like when you do generators, the map changes ever so slightly, because there's quite a lot of mechanics involved in the Haunted Mansion, and the house moves ever so slightly in certain areas and certain parts of the film. So I think that would be really cool. There's also like a glass sort of mirror part, if I remember correctly, which I think would be really unique, because you might see the killer in the mirror and think they're coming at you from maybe a certain angle, and they're not, which could be really good for like mind games and especially Scratch Mirror Myers. So my answer then would be to base it on the 13 Ghosts house, which I think would look really, really good. I think that's something that you could do quite easily. And it could have a lot of interactive parts, which a lot of the maps don't have. I think that would be something that they could definitely add to the game that would be very, very unique and original, because most of the other maps don't really have any interaction. Now, yes, on Midwich, you've got the secret thing that you can open, and it's got a chest in it, and it's kind of pointless, but it's fun. And apart from that, you don't really have anything else. I mean, you've got, like, on certain maps, you'll do a gen and it'll open a door or something. Which, you know, changes the map ever so slightly. But if you had a map that could change a lot on different levels, I think that would be really exciting. And that would keep the game quite interesting when you're playing on that particular map. But let me know what you guys think. What kind of map design would you go for? Let us know in the comments, and obviously we can review these in the next episode. But I'd be really interested to know what sort of theme you would have. The only other idea I would have if I was doing like an outside map, just the top of my head, would maybe do like a haunted theme park or something. Not necessarily haunted, but like a rusted old theme park. Take the carnival level from Crotus Pren Asylum, and sort of develop that more. So you have like a Ferris wheel and like a Helter Skelter or something that the survivors could slide down if they were at the top. Sort of stealing the idea from the game where you jump down the chute. I think something like that would be really, really cool. And it'd be really creepy as well, and you could have like different rides and stuff that you could maybe get on or something. I don't know. But something like that I think would be really cool if you were looking for an outside map idea. So maybe a theme park, a rundown old fun fair, something like that. And then for an indoor map, I think I would go with probably something 13 Ghost themed. I think that would be really cool. But please, guys, let us know in the comments any ideas you would have for new maps and what you would create. And we can obviously discuss them in the next episode, because I think that would be really, really cool. We can get enough ideas together. Maybe we can promote the shit out of this, and maybe get it even in the hands of Behavior. What's that Peanuts guy? Is it Peanuts? Penis? Something like that, his name? Yeah, maybe someone could like at him on Twitter, and we could send some of our best ideas over to him. I think that'd be interesting. I really think that would be interesting. But anyway, so that's the Q&A, and that's our drama and news. So that leads us to very quickly into our next part of the show, which is our character spotlight for the day. So if you're new to the show, new to the channel, new to the podcast, every week we're going to do a character spotlight on a specific character, unless they come in a pair. So for instance, Blight and Felix come as a pair, so we will cover both in the same podcast. But when they're individuals, like Dwight was in the last episode, we will cover them on their own. Now, because Mitchell's not with me, I'm actually going to do a bit more of a deep dive, because as some of you know, I'm a little bit of a Trapper main. Trapper doesn't get as much love as we would all like, and he's gone through numerous amount of changes, but I think I would like to deep dive quite literally into his lore and the little bits about him that you may or may not know. So, starting off, Evan McMillan, or the Trapper as he's better known, has been in the game since Dot. He is the OG, he's on the cover of the damn game, and he doesn't get enough love and respect. And that's because he's pretty fucking weak, but I love Trapper. I've got a soft spot for him, and I think a lot of people do in the community. So yeah, let's do a massive deep dive into this character, and yeah, let's try and reveal some of his secrets. So, the first part I'm going to jump into is Benedict Baker's journal from November 1896. So this is part of the Trapper's lore. And this is what Mr. Baker says about Evan McMillan. There is a vast monster of a man with a hideous grin torn across the mask that keeps stalking my every move. Similar to a hunter, he tracks us, priming devastating traps amongst the greenery. Extreme vigilance and a light step is essential in avoiding the blood-curdling clench of a bear trap or the clutches of what I've taken to calling the miserable smiling killer. I have but many times managed to get caught in one of these traps. I have nothing but a fear for the feeling of blunt trap spikes grinding against my bones, or for the heavy and deliberate footsteps which always inevitably reveal a plastered, sadistic grin. With the traps and the trapper, it has so far been a constant battle between looking up and looking down. So that's a great little insight into the character himself. We will go into his lore in a bit more detail. But for those of you who didn't know, the Trapper's real name as a human form, before he became an entity's little bitch, was Evan McMillan. Now, it says in the Dead by Daylight fandom wiki that his game alias or nickname is Chuckles, which I only think I've seen featured on one of his masks, so that's kind of interesting. I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that his nickname or game alias was Chuckles. That's kind of weird. I thought that probably would have been more adept for, or appropriate for the clown, but there we go. So obviously his realm and map is quite obviously the Macmillan estate, if you weren't aware, and his power, as we all know, is bear traps. Now, it says his power attack type, special attack, is a bear trap catch, which is kind of self-explanatory. And obviously he's known for carrying a massive cleaver, which I quite like. I personally prefer to use this machete. I like to treat him a bit like Jason Voorhees, as he's the closest killer we have to him. His movement speed is normal. His terror radius is 32 meters. He's classed as tall in the height factory. And the voice actor, if you need to know this, which I'm pretty sure is a behavior actor called Filip Ivanovic, which, you know, is kind of interesting. Apparently we can hear his breathing. I don't think you heard that, because I didn't have my desktop audio on. Let me play it again for you. Okay, so kind of animalistic, almost like a heavy-breathing, chain-smoking elephant. Now, his overview is armed with a bag of bear traps. The Trapper specializes in catching unsuspecting survivors. By placing traps in high-traffic areas and thick patches of grass, he creates a deadly area that forces survivors to move with caution. When dealing with the Trapper, a simple misstep can prove fatal. Now, this is true. As we all know, I think, and for those new to the game, a basement trapper is almost impossible to counter, really. Especially now that his traps can't be destroyed like they used to be back in 2016. It makes him very, very difficult, especially if he's running certain add-ons like the Bloody Coil. You're going to get injured disarming a trap, and then you're a one-tap away from being down yourself. So he is really strong in very, very niche scenarios. And a good trapper needs to control that area very, very well. Now, it also says he's able to apply pressure across the map, but this isn't actually true. His best weapon is to put the traps all in a concentrated area, not across the whole map. So it's kind of a bit of bullshit that they've put that in the fandom wiki on Dead by Daylight. I think they're trying to big him up and act like he's better than he actually is. Obviously, we will go into his perks, but just on a summary, it's unnerving presence, brutal strength, and agitation. And apparently he's focused on physical attributes and making use of his strength and the survivor's fear. So, let me quickly cover his lore, because he's got quite a short one. Dead by Daylight and Behavior weren't into writing novels when it came to their characters back in the day, so he's only got a couple of paragraphs. And this will be the backstory as to how Evan McMillan became the Trapper and how he ended up in Dead by Daylight. Evan McMillan idolized his father. It wasn't just that he was heir to a great fortune. It was the way he ran the estate itself. Raised under his firm hand, Evan had taken to running the workforce with an iron grasp. Production was always high, and the McMillan estate prospered under father and son leadership. As Archie McMillan, the father, mental health slowly disintegrated, Evan protected him from the herd who wanted a piece of the fortune. No matter what his father asked of him, Evan would do it. When Archie McMillan finally snapped, Evan became his enforcer in what would become known as the worst mass murder in modern history. They never proved that Evan led over 100 men into dark tunnels before detonating explosives and sealing them to their fate. The tale of the McMillan estate is a tale of wealth and power gone very wrong. How many victims fell to the hands of father and son is unknown. No record is ever made of what became of Evan. His father is another unsolved puzzle, found trapped in the locked basement of his own warehouse, starved and abandoned. Now, that's short and sweet compared to some of the other characters, like the Knight, for instance, that's recently added, who's got like 16 pages and a short story written about his lore. But what we can gather from that is it doesn't fit the character that well. Yes, he trapped his first victims, but he used explosives and he buried them in a cave. That doesn't really explain at all why he uses bear traps. There's nothing in there. He's not a hunter. He's not a gatherer. He's not a woodland man like the female huntress is. So why is he using bear traps when his lore clearly states he used explosives? Shouldn't that mean that instead of placing bear traps, he places explosives that maybe down or injure survivors, like proximity mines or something of that, like dynamite? Why, oh why, are they bear traps? It's a very interesting question when you deep dive into the lore of this character, because it really actually doesn't make sense. The only link to him and his backstory is A, his name, and B, that he trapped people. Why does he have metalwork coming out of his back, like spikes and so forth? Why does he use bear traps? Why does he wear that mask? Why are there so many unanswered questions? I would really love Behavior to go deeper into this and give us maybe a rewritten version of this lore. Like, I don't understand where the bear traps come from. They could just add in that, you know, he enjoyed hunting with his father or something along them lines. Just give us something that tells us why he's using bear traps, because it makes no fucking sense. He should be using like tripwires instead of bear traps. What do you guys think? Do you guys know any more than this? This is what's on the wiki page, so if there is a deeper dive into the Trapper, I've not seen it or heard of it. So if anyone knows the reason behind this, please let me know. But this is kind of crazy. This is actually kind of crazy that this doesn't really actually make any sense. But anyway, I digress. So the perks that come with him, as mentioned, are Unnerving Presence, Brutal Strength, and Agitation. Unnerving Presence. Apparently your presence alone instills great fear. Survivors repairing or healing within the terror radius of Trapper, or whoever uses this perk, suffer from the following effects. It increases the trigger odds of a skill check by 10%, so it makes skill checks more likely. Decreases the success zone of skill checks by 40%, 50%, and then 60% at tier purple 3. Okay, so Unnerving Presence basically sucks a lot of dick, okay? Unless you're running it in a Terror Radius build as either Doctor or Wesker, I would say bin this perk off immediately. Yes, this pairs well with Chlorophobia and Distressing and Wesker and Doctor. That's it. And you have to combine at least 2 other perks really to get any real fucking value from this. So I would avoid at all costs, to be honest. Realistically, it's probably like a 2 out of 10 because them skill checks done by proper players who've been playing the game for a while will be able to absolutely smash them skill checks, and it's not really going to be a problem. Obviously, running it with Chlorophobia and someone like Wesker with Distressing, yes, it's going to be a fucking issue. But yeah, it's very niche. You're only really going to see it on Wesker or maybe even Doctor. I very rarely see it on anybody else, especially at my MMR. So yeah, I wouldn't run it unless you're doing a mean build. So 2 out of 10 from me. Brutal Strength. Your great strength allows you to shred through your prey's defenses. So this perk increases the action speed of breaking pallets and breakable walls and damaging generators by 10, 15, and 20%. So don't get confused. That is the speed of breaking things. Now, again, this isn't really a great perk. You can add it on to Wraith with 2 of his add-ons and absolutely shred through fucking pallets. But apart from that, I really wouldn't bother using this perk at all. At all. It's a little bit better than Unnerving Presence, so I'll be generous and give it a 3 out of 10. But again, it's for like a mean build if you're going to be adding it with, you know, if you're doing like a pallet removal build or something like that. Or again, as I said, pairing it with Wraith and his add-ons, then great. But again, it's kind of a bit of a meme. It's not worth putting in your, like, comp sweat build as a killer, it's really not worth it. Especially if you're like a chainsaw killer, you could just chainsaw through pallets. There's other perks you can use. Hex Blood Favor would probably be preferable over this, to be honest, to actually block pallets rather than shred through them. But yeah, realistically, I personally wouldn't use it. I very rarely use it. Again, if you're doing the Adept, you're going to need to use all 3 of these, which I've still yet to do. Holy shit. But yeah, I wouldn't use this perk unless you're forced to. 3 out of 10. Agitation. You get excited in anticipation of hooking your prey. While carrying a survivor, you benefit from the following effects. Increases your carrying movement speed by 6, 12, or 18% at top tier, and increases your terror radius by 12 meters. This perk you will see a lot with killers running Starstruck. And that is because they want to increase their terror radius to make people exposed, to either stop you coming in for flashlight saves, body blocks, etc., or because they want people in the nearby terror radius to be exposed so they can try and insta-down you easier. Now, this is used a lot on Wesker, and this is used on quite a few killers, actually. If you're a fan of Starstruck, you probably should be running Agitation as well. If you're not running Agitation as well, you're probably missing out. This is actually quite good on a lot of killers. I don't know a killer that this would be weak on, to be honest with you. Even as a standalone perk, it's not too bad. If you're not running Starstruck, though, you don't really need to increase your terror radius, so that's a little bit memey. Not necessary, so it's only really good to pair with Starstruck in that instance. But getting someone to a hook quickly, or being able to get to, say, the basement quickly, could be beneficial, depending on who you're playing as. Basement bubbers run Agitation all the time. Basement trappers run Agitation all the time. And I've seen it on other killers as well, like Nurse, again, paired with Starstruck, and even someone like Hag or even Trickster. So, yeah, if you want to get someone to the hook quickly to try and speed that process up or try and avoid body blocking Swifts, you can use it just for that basis, but paired with Starstruck, it's a pretty good perk combo. I would probably give this perk a 6 out of 10, because on its own, depending on what you're running, it's not amazing. It's a bit better than average, but if you're pairing it with other things, it can soon be 7, 8, 9 out of 10, depending on your other perks, so bear that in mind. So, yeah, that's basically the ins and outs and the crux of Trapper's Lore and perks. Obviously, with his bear traps, the Trapper starts traditionally with 2, with 6 additional bear traps spawning randomly across the trial grounds. He can see the auras of them at all times, and bear traps in the environment are disarmed by default unless you're running certain add-ons. But that's basically it. I don't think you really need to know too much else about him. Obviously, we could go into the nuances of the seconds for bear traps and things of that nature, and, you know, massive deep dive into his add-ons. But really, the only 2 I think you need to be aware of is Bloody Coil, which means if someone disarms your trap, they will automatically get injured. That could be super, super clutch. And the Trapper Sack, which can be really helpful if you want to try and 3-gen on a map like, say, like Midwich or something of that nature. You can carry all traps at the beginning, which means you probably won't need to run Corrupt Intervention to slow the game down. There is other traps that randomly reset traps for you, which can be really helpful, like the Iridescent Stone. But to be honest with you, if you're not running Bloody Coil, I think you're broken and you're not going to have good fun as Trapper, because your traps are going to get disarmed 24/7 if you do not use that perk. It should be base kit. I will argue that now as a Trapper main. I've played a lot of Trapper. Bloody Coil should be fucking base kit, and I'm very passionate about that. There's no repercussions otherwise for disarming bear traps, and you'll get 1 survivor doing that while you go around resetting them, and the other 3 will do gens, and you'll have a miserable fucking time. There's a lot of luck involved with Trapper. Please watch videos that I've done, or obviously even better than me, Otzdava on YouTube, to find out best places to place traps. He's also a Trapper main as well. Probably not so much anymore because he's weak as fuck, but you know, he was iconically a Trapper main. And yeah, he can give you good insight on where and where not to place traps and how to play him. And I've done a few videos as well. I will actually, a little bit of self-promotion here, I will be looking to do an unbeaten streak with Trapper on Midwich. I believe Midwich with the normal RNG, 9 times out of 10, I think you can make Trapper unbeatable. Now, bear in mind, this won't be a winning streak. This will be an unbeaten streak, okay? So anything less than a 2k counts as a loss. 2k is a draw, 3k is a win, 4k is a win. So we will be playing Midwich on stream at some point once I've got enough fucking blood points to pump through him to get Midwich countless times, because there will be map offerings. I need Bloody Coils, and I need my Trapper Sack. Yes, I said sack, make all the jokes in the comments you want that I need Trapper's sack. Okay? But we will be doing that at some point. So that's a little bit of breaking news for you, actually. I don't think I've told many people that I'm going to be doing that. So that should be something, hopefully, that's of interest to you guys who watch me. Now, we do have a stream guide for you. And this one, I don't think Mitchell has covered in the last 2 episodes. So hopefully you'll get some enjoyment out of this. Bear in mind, a lot of these are very, very jokey. So if you're offended by anything in this, please fuck off, because we don't care. These are just jokes. They're meant to be for your entertainment. And this is titled How to Be a Gentleman Killer. Okay. So this guide is designed to maximize your chances of having a really fun time playing DBD, and may or may not give you some helpful hints to make you a better killer. Yes, you there reading this, or listening to this in this case. Have you ever felt that you might be taking the killing of survivors way too seriously? Do you feel like the game sometimes treats you unfairly, and those pesky survivors are taunting you as they loop you? Well, fear not. You too can become a gentleman or lady killer and find a new outlook on the game for the better. Open your Steam profile up to public, don your monocle and bow tie, strap yourselves in, and take your enjoyment to the next level. The beginning notes. The primary aim of the Gentleman Killer is to make sure that survivors in your lobby have a great time. Your own satisfaction comes as a byproduct of their own gameplay fun time. You want to make sure the survivors have fun. Now, as the killer, you are the one hosting the game, and therefore the survivors coming into the game are your customers and party guests. Henceforth, survivors will therefore be known as customers. It is important to remember this at all times, and the old adage that the customer is always right, while this is usually true, we shall see later. There are some exceptions to this rule. If the customer is a complete cad, then they may need to be informed of this in a gentlemanly manner in the endgame chat. The loadout for Gentleman Killer. The Gentleman Killer may play any of the available killers at his or her disposal, except for Nurse, Blight, and the Nightmare, Freddy Krueger. This is because these characters are utterly obnoxious to play against and immediately lowers the chances of the customers having a great time. If you must use these characters, great care must be taken to ensure customer satisfaction. The Gentleman Killer may use most available perks, but should avoid those that make the game tedious for the customer. The Gentleman Killer is therefore never found using Noed, Hex Ruining, Dying Light, Remember Me, No Way Out, Blood Warden, Thanatophobia, and any other perk that may slow the game down. The following perks are highly recommended: Enduring, Monitoring Abuse, Brutal Strength, Nurse's Calling, Barbecue and Chili, Bamboozle, Whispers, not Whiskers, Hex, Devour Hope. In almost all cases, add-ons and offerings are used at the Gentleman Killer's discretion. However, add-ons that are clearly overpowered and cause customer discomfort are to be avoided. I will not list them here, but any killer using, for example, the add-on Iridescent Head is clearly not a gentleman and probably justifiably has an inferiority complex. The customers may indeed clap when faced with such conduct, but they are clapping their hands over their eyes. Game opening. Upon entering the game, there is a good chance you will receive an audio notification and the entity clause may appear around one of the customer's names. They are using this perk, Decisive Strike, because they are very insecure about their abilities and require a band-aid to help them along. Now, I believe this is an old guide, and this isn't necessarily true, as there is always an obsession, so you're going to have to take this a little bit with a pinch of salt. Although their strike will of course be feeble, when they use it you should feign injury by calling out in pain and letting them go. You may then resume the chase or pursue another customer as and when they appear. The early part of the game should be treated as a healthy game of catch and release, or cat and mouse, much like the skilled trout angler. A strong smack on the customer's rear will send them packing, and you may then seek another customer as they try to complete their objectives. Having multiple injured customers is always preferable to a single one in the down state. They spend their time touching themselves to get better again, or seeking the firm yet gentle hands of a fellow customer. This is presumably one of the reasons they have sought the trial. Key point. A Gentleman Killer never ever respects a pallet. We may tip a fedora to many things, but never a piece of wood. Show the customer that you mean business by swinging through that thing like a blunderbuss. If they can use it to their advantage, then destroy it immediately. Otherwise, resume the chase. If no other customer presents themselves or you feel the time is right to press a chase to conclusion, proceed to down the customer as soon as possible. Customers can be extremely dogged in their determination not to be downed. If they appear skilled at evading you, or you feel they waste too much of your time, it is usually best to escape them and pursue another customer instead. They will have to go off and touch themselves anyway, and you can busy yourself with the task of preventing generator progression. Now, key point here, if you have one customer hooked and you then down another, take a moment to decide what to do. If another customer is in the immediate vicinity, the best course of action is to at least injure them or attempt to down them if already injured instead of securing another hook. This is because you can create map pressure. By instantly hooking the net down survivor, you ease the pressure on the other three. Customers want to be pressured. It is why they are here in your trial. They want to feel the thrill of the hunt. By leaving one down and chasing another, you leave a maximum of one customer left to do both rescue from the hook and rub the one on the floor senseless. An immense task even for the randiest of customers. Now clearly, if there is not a spare customer to take on the hero role at this point in the game, you should hook up the downed customer and give a chance at some rescues being made. We don't want to be too unfair, do we? This is especially the case if there are generators still unrepaired. If the exit gates are open and the trial has been thrilling, consider killing all customers at this point. Key point to make here is the best tales are told by ones that get away to tell them. It's almost always best to allow freedom to the final customer where possible. They will be grateful for your mercy and it may indeed enhance their experience. It may also be best to allow freedom to a customer even if others are still alive or have escaped. The skilled gentleman knows when to show mercy and when to show strength, and hopefully we'll get that ever-valued GGs at the end of the game chat. Hook them up, and then leave the area and find another customer. Head to the last lone location of a generator you know they are fiddling with. However, if a customer makes an unsafe hook rescue, this should be punished. The preferable punishment is to down the survivor that was on hook, but not rehook them. We want to play nicely here, ladies and gentlemen, because we are indeed a gentleman ourselves. Leave them on the ground to be touched gently but firmly by another customer. They will enjoy this. This means the scallywag customer that farmed their fellow off the hook is deprived of their points and can then be hunted down for the scandalous behaviour of farming their own teammates. If a customer has been rescued from the hook and the brave rescuer has decided to touch them under the hook, then the hero customer should be targeted, and never the one that you've just had hooked. Do not tunnel down the recently unhooked customer, as this would make the game unpleasant for them and you may ruin their fun. They should feel the fear that this might happen, but then escape. This will make them feel very lucky and fill them with renewed vigour, and they will definitely love you. In the end game, regardless of whether or not you kill all the customers or if they all escape, the gentleman killer remains dignified at the end of the match. If the customers teabag you or click their cheap, inexpensive flashlights at you, take this as a compliment. They do these things because little things please little minds, and you have obviously made their little minds happy. This was, after all, our primary goal. We're here to entertain, not to ruin their fun. Also tell the customers that it was a good game after the match, even if it wasn't, and refrain from any ungentlemanly conduct on the finishing screen. If a particularly rude customer continues to behave with no class after the match, set them down with a subtle, suitable, gentlemanly retort such as, "A sharp tongue is no indication of a keen mind," or perhaps, "I was hoping for a battle of wits, but you appear unarmed." And this little side end note for you is, hey look, that's it. Thanks for sticking around for the guide and listening to me rabbit on, and I hope it's helpful to at least one aspiring DBD player that's listening. And don't forget to use what you have learned from this guide, because it might change the way you play as killer. So remember to be a gentleman and make sure everybody else, apart from you, has fun. So that's the guide for this week episode, guys, and it's how to be a gentleman killer if you weren't aware. This was submitted by Noed November in Steam under Dead by Daylight. Which is going to move us promptly on then to this week's Shrine of Secrets. Now, the shrine itself this week has what I would describe as a mixed bag of perks, and we're going to go through them. First up is Predator, which is a Wraith perk for those of you that don't know. And basically what this means is when running this perk, your acute tracking abilities will allow you to follow disturbances left by passing prey over a longer period of time. In English terms, this means the footsteps of survivors will stay visible for 3 seconds longer than normal if you have this perk unlocked at tier 3. This perk needs no real covering whatsoever. It's absolutely dog shit. Don't ever run it. Even if you're a beginner, I would tell you never run this perk unless you're doing the Adept for Wraith. It is complete and utter trash, and I will give it a 0 out of 10. No holds barred, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move straight on to the second perk. That perk disgusts me so much that I'm not even going to give it a moment's thought. Fire Up is perk number 2 out of the 2 killer perks that are available this week in the Shrine. Now, this is a Freddy Krueger perk, and it's a little bit memey, but it can be clutch sometimes in very niche scenarios. The increased pressure of losing your prey fills you with anger and gives you unsuspected motivation. In English, each time the survivor complete repairs on a generator, the perk Fire Up grows in power and will grant a speed bonus to picking up survivors, dropping survivors, breaking pallets, damaging generator, and vaulting. When you have 4 tokens, meaning they've done 4 gens, which is the most that they can do for you to get this perk. Well, actually, surely there should be 5. Is there only 4 tokens? Apparently there's only 4 tokens. You will receive 14% action speed bonus to this. So again, going back to Trapper's perk about breaking pallets, if you ran this with Brutal Strength, you would be breaking pallets very, very fucking quickly. And you could probably even pair this with Wraith's add-ons and get over 100% speed in breaking pallets. Interesting min build to run, but not something you want to run on everybody. Now, the only other character I can see this really benefiting might be Clown, as Clown actually has a faster pickup animation than all the other characters. You may not know this. He picks up ever so slightly quicker. If you actually pay attention, when you pick a survivor up as Clown, you will see it's a very fraction of a second quicker than everybody else when you're picking somebody up. We do not know why this is. We have no fucking clue, but it's just a fact and it's there. Now, if you're running Fire Up, that means you could pick them up quicker. Now, the reason that's good, and you don't necessarily have to be Clown, it would just be slightly quicker if you were Clown. If you're running any killer with this perk, picking up a survivor quickly, what's the benefit of that, Mike? What does that mean? Why is that even a fucking thing? Well, the reason for that, and pardon my French, I'm swearing quite a lot today apparently, I'm post-night shift and very tired. The reason, dear listener, you may want to pick someone up quicker is because of those pesky little flashlight saves. Now, they have modded flashlight saves. I don't know if it's in the current patch with the night or if it's the upcoming patch. I think it's in the current one, actually. And they're meant to be easier to do, right? But if you're running this perk, you pick up quicker and that will throw the timing off survivors. Can come in clutch, but I think with the actual buff to flashlight saves, probably won't fucking help you. So please still look at a wall. But there you go. It could help if you're against someone that's not as good with the flashlights. Now, the rating for this perk, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. I think it's okay. It can be paired nicely with other things, but if we're looking at it as a standalone perk, which we always do when we're evaluating these perks and giving them our rating out of 10, on its own, 4 out of 10 I think is adequate. It's okay. It's not the worst. It's a little bit lower than average, which I would probably range at a 5 out of 10. So yeah, 4 out of 10 I think is fair. Case closed on Fire Up. Now, on to the survivor perks. The first one is Breakdown, which is the unique perk belonging to Jeff. Big Daddy Jeff Johansson. Okay? Now, this perk is interesting in, again, certain scenarios. Each time you're unhooked or unhook yourself, the hook breaks and the killer's aura is revealed to you for up to 6 seconds. And a hook broken, when you get unhooked, takes 180 seconds to respawn. 180 seconds. That, my friends, for those who do not know, is 3 minutes. 3 fucking minutes. This, if everyone was running this, and I've never seen this before, but if you're a bully squad out there, if you're in a bully squad, if you're a bully, or you want to bully the killer and you fancy bullying the killer and you want to be a bully, if you want to be a bully, everybody fucking run this. Run this with toolboxes and saboteur, and honestly, you will stress the killer out enough that they'll probably DC. Because even if they can't hook, if you get the unhook successfully, they then have to go to the next hook, run boil over, to try and hook you. By the time they get to that hook, if it is nearby, someone could have saboed it. Then you can get add-ons for sabos that last a lot longer for hooks to respawn as well. And the killer's then going to be losing their damn minds because they're not going to know if hooks have respawned. 3 minutes is a long, long time. And if everybody's running this, after 4 hooks, depending on the time zone, that could be 4 hooks that are out of action. And then you can make sure you go down in an area where that hook is missing with boil over to make it very difficult for the survivor to hook. Boil over, break down, and run toolboxes with Saboteur. You can have the bulliest of bully squads. And I might even do a video on it. I might get the crew together and I might say, look, guys, I brought this up in the podcast. Let's try it out because I've never seen 4 breakdowns in a game. And I think that could be OP if a bully squad wanted to do it. So I might actually try and make a video out of that. I might get Mitchell and the gang together and we might try and do some games off stream where we use breakdown, boil over, and Saboteur with toolboxes. And we'll see what we get. We'll see what happens. I might even try this out. I think this is a new challenge that this podcast has unlocked for us to look at and review. Not a bad perk, but in that scenario, this could be a 7 or 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9 if all 4 people were running it. But you don't get it. It doesn't happen. You don't see it ever. I've never seen it. I've never seen it on more than 1 survivor at a time, even in a 4-man. So my advice would be this perk on its own, probably a 5 out of 10. Just because A, you can see the killer's aura. Even in solo, that's helpful. Just in case he's going to try and tunnel you. And you can stop that hook being used for 3 minutes. That can actually help out a teammate. If the killer's not paying fucking attention, they don't realize, and they down someone near that hook, and it's not there, that could be someone that's saved from a hook stage. That could be a death hook save. So I'm going to say 5 out of 10. Okay? Could even be a 6. But again, it is kind of scenario-based. You're not going to get consistent results with it. I would say it's a very average okay perk, and I think that validates the 5 out of 10. Let me know in the comments, guys, as well with these, what you would rate them, if you would rate them differently. And give me a reason why. Me and Mitchell would love to know, and we can always review it in the next podcast. This leads us on to the final perk in the Shrine, which is OP in Swift situations if used correctly. This is Zarina's perk for the people. Most of you know how this works, okay? But basically, you're risking life and injury for others while using this. While you're healthy and healing another survivor without using a medkit, if you press the active ability button on your keyboard and mouse, or on your controller if you're like me and you love controllers, it will trade 1 health state with the survivor. This means you will heal a survivor from a dying state to injured, or from injured to healthy. But this does come with a caveat that you then become injured and you also suffer from a broken status effect for up to 60 seconds at tier 3. You also, by default, then become the killer's obsession if you're not already. This actually lowers the odds of you becoming the killer's initial obsession, though, by 100%. And the killer obviously can only be obsessed with 1 survivor at a time. Now, in a Swift, or even solo, you can help save someone who's on death hook, and this can change the course of a game. This could be the start of a 3-4k for the killer, and you come in with your for the people, the killer's going to try and tunnel them out, and you give them that extra health state. Boom. And if they're running something like off the record as well, holy shit. The killer's got a whole 3 health states he needs to get through, which could mean the difference in 4-man out or a 4k, okay? Because we all know once a killer gets that 1k, it's a different ball game, right? So, on that basis, you need to be aware that this perk is pretty OP if used correctly. If used badly, then, you know, it could be a free down on a very good survivor, okay? Or maybe not so good survivor if they made the mistake of using it. I would probably give this perk an 8 out of 10, mainly because it needs to be used correctly. The only reason I don't give it a 9 is because in solo queue, without comms, if they don't know you've got this, and this has happened to me, it can come as a surprise. And you can get for the people and then be hit immediately if you're not really aware of the fact that you're getting for the people, right? Or if it's used badly, it could be wasted, okay? So you can take a hit and it's almost for fucking nothing. So be aware that this is a thing. Be aware that someone might have it in your team because it is a strong perk. And if someone's healing you, they might hit you with for the people, and you shouldn't, in your mind, go AFK while you're waiting for them to heal you because it could be done instantaneously with this perk. So the more awareness that is spread that this could be run in solo queue, you don't really see it in solos, if I'm honest. It's not more of a Swift perk, and that's why it's an 8 out of 10. But be aware that this could be used. A solo survivor near you could be running this perk, and you need to be aware of it because you might need to run immediately rather than waiting a few seconds to actually be healed. Okay? So you need to be aware of that. All right. Moving on. That is all of our Shrine of Secrets perks today, guys. And that's going to lead us very, very nicely into Streamer of the Week. Now, our Streamer of the Week today is a good buddy of mine on Twitch. It's a UK streamer called Woo, It's Jake. And that's Woo with 3 O's, It's Jake. Now, Jake is a 25-year-old UK streamer. He's a variety streamer, but he does play DBD quite a lot. He's actually live right now as I'm talking about this. And he loves streaming and making new friends. He's a very wholesome guy. And if any of you are friends of friends, if any of you are followers or watchers of Manface J, you will actually probably recognize Jake, as he was in a video not long ago where Jake was getting targeted by a toxic streamer, and Jake actually featured in the video. They did hide his identity, and I didn't know this when I became friends with Jake. But yeah, he actually featured in that video, which was kind of interesting. And yeah, so you can actually find that online. It's one of Manface J's toxic videos. And yeah, he's a really wholesome guy. Really great guy to have around. He's a big advocate for mental health, which I think is very, very important in 2022. And he's just an all-round awesome guy. I haven't asked his permission to feature him, but we didn't with Wit either last week. And I'm pretty sure they're comfortable with us giving them a little shout out. So go and check him out. I'm just trying to see if I can see his stream schedule. I'm not sure he's actually got one posted. Doesn't look like he's got a stream schedule on there, but he's live quite a lot, so I would definitely go and check him out. As I say, he's a fun time. He plays really cute and colourful games as well, not just Dead by Daylight, and he's a massive Pokemon fan. So if you love your Pokemons as much as we do, then make sure you go and check him out. I think his favourite Pokemon's either Ghastly or Gengar, I believe. I think it's Gengar. Yeah, I think it's Gengar. But anyway, make sure you go and check him out, guys. He's an awesome streamer, and we love to promote that. He's very big in the LGBTQIA+ community, and he himself is gay. So if you're looking for that kind of community that really supports that, I mean, obviously me and Mitchell do as well, but if you're looking for a third party, because you guys already watch us, you already subscribe and follow us, don't you? Wink, wink, of course you do. But if you're looking for somebody else who's a big advocate like we are, for the LGBTQIA+ community, then please do go and check him out. That's Woo It's Jake, WOOO, 3 O's. Woo It's Jake. Please go and check him out. Give him a follow. Let him know you heard about him on our podcast, and that's why you've gone to check him out. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. And yeah, he can give us some feedback that he got a few followers from us. So yeah, that is our streamer of the week. Now, normally that would be where we end the podcast, but there is something that I would like to address and quickly go over with you guys, and that is the fact that we have been doing a 30-day challenge recently. Now, for those of you who don't know, last week we had a question as to what perk we would run if we were to run one perk only on Killer or Survivor. What would be our perk of choice? Now, I'm happy to say that I made a mistake. I'm a big man. I'm a big guy, both literally and metaphorically. I'm a big dude, all right? I'm a big man. Now, I can admit when I've made a mistake. And I think that I have made a horrible fucking mistake. Okay? So, to summarize, the Survivor perk that I chose stupidly, and those of you that watched will know, was self-care. A Claudette perk for healing myself. Now, hear me out, because I know it's not the best perk, and I could have picked a million others, and I'm really fucking stupid, and I'm really sorry. But my thought process at the time, when I was put on the spot, was, well, you know, I could just heal myself whenever I want, and that's going to be super clutch. That was my dumbass thought process. I didn't think about looping. I didn't think about my team. I didn't think about anything like that. I just literally went, oh yeah, I'll just heal myself fucking whenever. Forgetting how damn slow that perk is. Holy shit, it's slow. Now, luckily, when we did the 30-day challenge, or when I issued it, we said that it doesn't matter if we use items and add-ons. It's just about using the one perk. Everything else is on the table. So lucky for me, I've been running medkits, which don't stack with self-care because it's so damn slow. So I'm basically running almost no perks for 30 days on stream and just running medkits to counter the fact that self-care is so slow. So I'm using self-care as a backup. Now, granted, I've been playing Evil Dead recently, and I haven't really played a lot of Survivor. So, because of that, it's got to the point where I actually have only played a few games with self-care. The total at the moment that I'm standing on is 5. So I've had 5 games in total for this 30-day challenge. I'm still going to do 30 days of stream with this challenge. And I have 4 wins, so 4 escapes, because you can only win if you escape a survivor, in my opinion, and 1 loss, which actually isn't very bad, because I'm technically running 0 perks. Because the med kit on its own doesn't stack with self-care, so that means I'm not getting any value from it, and yeah, I'm basically almost running no perks at this point. Now, I wish, in hindsight, the perk I probably would have picked if I was to do this again would be Windows of Opportunity. Because it could be clutch, especially with someone who's me, who isn't the greatest looper in the game. I can rely on pallets and windows, and I don't need exhaustion perks as much as I think I do. I tend to do better when I'm focusing on where I'm running, which is where windows can really help, especially with knowing what pallets have been dropped. Because I've noticed, whilst not running windows, because I normally do, if I'm running my own build, I don't know what pallets have gone down, which means I have to pay even more attention. And sometimes you're just not going to be in an area that you end up running to, and you're not going to know. You're going to be like, oh, there should be a pallet here. And you see that some other survivors already used it. So Windows really, just for the benefit of knowing what's been used and what hasn't, would have been my perk of choice. So there we go. I'm still going to stick to self-care. I've got 4 wins under my belt and only 1 loss. That 1 loss actually wasn't my fault. That was my team. They left me on hook. So that was actually a solo problem, not an actual perk problem, which is fantastic. So that means I could have got 5 wins in a row already. Now, that's the survivor side, right? And I'll give you a quick update on how we're doing on the killer. So for me, as most of you guys know, I'm a big fan of Noed. All right, it's controversial, but it can be super fucking clutch. I like running Noed normally. It's one of my favorite killer perks, even though it's been slightly nerfed with the fact that it makes it easier for them to find the totem. But Noed's my perk of choice for 1 perk only. Okay, you all know that. And I also did a follower challenge that when I got to 500 followers, I was going to get a Noed tattoo. I got an update for you there, which should have been in my news section, but I've only just remembered. On the 19th of December, guys, I'm getting my Noed tattoo, so I'm either going to live stream it or record the process so we can watch it together on stream. Fucking great. I know you guys are looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to it a bit now as well. I was a bit apprehensive agreeing to get a permanent tattoo for Dead by Daylight, but fuck it. I'm that kind of guy. That's what I'm going to do. Now, all that aside about the tattoo, yes, I picked Noed for my killer games. So far, I am on a 3-win streak. Now, one of them games I'm going to be putting on YouTube because it was fucking insane. I stupidly decided to play Scratch Mirror Myers on Larry's with just Noed. And I got an amazing Swift team that knew exactly how to play against me. And I had to come back from 0 hooks in endgame with Noed. And I guess this is going to ruin the outcome, but you're still going to enjoy watching it, I know, anyway. And I fucking clutched the shit out of that endgame just with fucking Noed. So, please go and check that out when I upload it. It should be uploaded maybe even before this video. I might get that prepped because this is going to come out on Saturday. So I might get Scratch and Myers to come out maybe even the same day so you could bounce between the 2 videos. But that is the main clutch game I've had with Noed so far in the 30-day 1 perk challenge. Mitchell is running Save the Best for Last on Killer. I'm not sure how he's getting on, so we're going to have to check in with him next week. I'll give you an update on my scores as well next week. And he's also running Lithe, which is one of his favourite Survivor perks on Survivor. So, yeah, he's probably got a better choice. I think he's got the better choice on Survivor than me, but I think I've got the better killer perk. So if you guys let me know what perks you would pick as well, that'd be great. So I want updates from you on your map ideas. I want to know what you think of the Shriner's Secrets and Trapper's Shrine itself, and the perks that he uses, his adepts. And also, I would like you to let me know what perk you would choose if you could only run one perk on Survivor and Killer. So please let us know in the comments, guys. Also, don't forget to give us your Q&A. We want to answer your questions. They don't have to be DVD related. They can be about me and Mitchell. If you've got any personal questions for us, or even Dead by Daylight questions directed at us about the way we play, characters we like, dislike, anything of that nature, please let us know. Feel free to go 20 questions on us, and we'll be more than happy to answer them in the next episode. But until then, guys, I know Mitchell would tell you to have a blessed day or night, and I'm going to tell you, as always, to stay fucking groovy. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace!